before we get into the big picture, from where you sit, what does the shift in aid actually look like to you day to day? What have you seen change in the last year that most people in this room wouldn't see from the outside?
Yeah, thank you so much, Amanda. So I've spent the last 13 years working in the public health space. And so my perspective is going to actually focus on the health sector. So what I personally see is that there is a shift of vertical programming because initially we've been seeing that programs focused on specific diseases like HIV, malaria, tuberculosis. And for me, I think this is an important aspect because we need to have a one-stop center where someone can go and have an opportunity to, have diagnosed for the other diseases than just going into the health facility and then you are only seen for only one particular disease. Yet you might actually be having other diseases. So I think that shift is very important to understand. However, it also comes with a lot of challenges because the vertical program, say HIV program, has had its trained, human resource. And so when you integrate the other diseases, those diseases that do not have, highly developed infrastructure like syphilis, hepatitis B, tend to actually disappear in there. So I think that is my worry for now, but I think as people working in the health space, we need to now shift our mindset from disease-specific interventions to a more public health approach. When the funding issues came through last year, again, my work has entirely been on hepatitis advocacy. But for me, I saw that as an opportunity to leverage on the existing well-structured programs like HIV, malaria, tuberculosis. So last year, we coined the concept to the Ministry of Health, trying to discuss further the concept of integration, but mainly focusing on three diseases: HIV, hepatitis B, and syphilis. And we were using the antenatal care services as an entry point. So the concept was highly, received by the Ministry of Health, and we wanted to actually host a regional conference on the triple elimination for HIV, hepatitis B, and syphilis. Fortunately enough, we wanted to advance this to a more higher political level, and we invited, through the Ministry of Health again, the leadership of the African Union and Africa CDC, WHO, UNICEF, UNITAID, UNAIDS, and other international organizations. So for me, this was something that resonated with me because for the past years, diseases have actually been, people in specific disease areas have actually been speaking to themselves. They have not had an opportunity to listen to other diseases that are happening, outside their area of specialty. And so this was an opportunity for us to bring experts, community from the HIV, hepatitis, and syphilis. And I can tell you the call to action was very clear that integration is the way to go in the space of shrinking global health financing. So that really shaped much more about what I think about high level discussion with high level profile and also stakeholders in the space of public health.
Okay, building self-reliance in development conversations. What's your honest reaction?
To me, it is a two-way. For instance, in most cases, most of the development actors complement what government is meant to do. For me, what I've come to realize is that we need to create a lot of awareness about the people that we serve, to understand that actually they are part of government, because most of the domestic finances come through the taxes that they pay, and some of these taxes are most of them actually indirect because they are actually fixed on the products that they buy. Only that they may not feel it because they just go to the shops and they buy whatever they do. Unlike someone maybe who is taxed payee of about whatever amount they tax, withholding taxes. So I think when we talk about the issue of reliance, we need to be very honest to ourselves. Because like in the NGO world, it is something that is not very easy because most of the NGOs spend a lot of money on projects, and that bit of self-reliance becomes a challenge. But for me, what I think maybe we can only be self-reliant if we have, well-developed structures in place that can support, programs even beyond the funding that has been provided towards the specific program. In the keynote presentation, it said that government's strength is policy authority, and what the limitation is fiscal space. Is Uganda's government underusing the tools it has, or is it genuinely boxed in?
Given the just recently passed, is it that bill that...
Sovereignty bill?
Exactly. I mean, you see that for someone working in the civic space or civil society space, it becomes a bit of a challenge because, most of the philanthropies, I am sure that will be something that they question. So some of the policies that will actually pass or legislation that will pass locally or nationally actually might affect the development of this country, because I'm told if you have more than 400 million Ugandan shillings coming through your account, you need to go through a lot of steps. And those bureaucracies might not be things that the donor would wish the recipients to go through. So instead of considering maybe an organization that has applied for funding in Uganda because of those restrictions, it can change the decision at the grant signing processes or such kind of thing. So I think government needs to understand that the communities or the civil society organizations are mainly complementing their work. I know there has been a lot of discussion with those that are in the human rights, environment, because of maybe what happens in the country, and that's why government comes up with such kind of policies. But I think for me, before they come out with laws that are going to infringe on the service delivery, they should focus broader on how much the government itself provides to its citizens. And if there is a gap that the community-led organization or civil society can actually fill, there needs to be a way of working in harmony than kind of working to limit the civic space of some actors in this country.
I think the responsibility, in my opinion, and I don't want to bias anyone, I think it would start with government. Okay, so talk about citizens and the community. We talked about the informal sector making up a large share of the economy, which makes broad-based taxation hard. Is that fair explanation for low domestic revenue, or does it let citizens off the hook too easily?
I've actually been reading about the small, medium enterprises, how their business is actually struggling because of the so many taxes that are imposed on their businesses. Some of them don't even celebrate their first birthdays, and that is something that should concern everyone. But when it comes to the service delivery, I think that's where the citizens have actually been betrayed, because when you go to a regional referral hospital like Mulago and you see what is happening, people are sleeping on the floors, it is a bit heartbreaking. But also when you get to the pharmacy and you are told to go and buy medicines, yet you are actually contributing a huge chunk of money through the taxes that you pay, I think that is something that the citizens should also be maybe reawakened to hold government accountable, to provide, effective service delivery at all levels.
What does responsibility really look like for a citizen?
Again, that is for me where the huge responsibility for the citizens should actually focus. And they should also be able to demand, because we have seen that most of the leaders, especially in elective positions, they are treated like they are kings. They forget that the people who have put them in those places or in those positions are actually their bosses, because if it wasn't because of their vote, they wouldn't be in those places. So the citizens also need to be told to hold those leaders accountable in order to have the services at their.
Okay, let's look at civil society, which we are both very much involved in and very passionate about. What's their responsibility? NGOs have historically depended on the same donor funding that's now shrinking. Yeah? And we are the ones concerned the most. Can the sector reinvent its own funding model, or is it that asking an actor in crisis to also lead the solution?
For me, the global shrinking of financing has again awakened some of my thoughts. I think as civil society organizations, we need to maybe operate differently from the current approaches. We need not to be called maybe non-government organizations. And if you are still a non-government organization, you still need to have a social enterprise whereby you can actually, get some income. Because, for instance, if all the funding spaces close today, does that mean that your work or your mandate is rendered useless? Or so you need to create avenues in that even when there is no funding, at least you should be seen in the community to provide those basic services that you have actually been providing. And I think for me the only way we can achieve that is setting up social enterprises which can help us to generate income that can support our programs moving forward. Most of the non-government organizations, I call them grassroots organizations, have a human connection, touch with the communities, because they actually advocate, for the community at different levels by providing those services that they do. And that has actually earned them a bit of trust. Because, for instance, if you go to the health sector, you will see these implementing partners providing services in maybe public health facilities that maybe government has actually not provided. They have donated equipment, they have even serviced the equipment, they have even bought the reagents. So that alone makes them, get in closer contact with the community. And I think that is one strongest point of connection, of trust that the non-government organizations have created with the people. But I think that also in one way maybe scares government in one way or the other, especially now for those who are dealing in the human rights. Because if someone's land is grabbed and the government agencies responsible for that department have actually ignored, and then organizations working in that space come up to help these people, that will create more trust compared to the government agencies. And so I think that's where there has been a lot of diversions, especially on the approach of how government responds to some of the community issues vis-a-vis the non-government organizations.
Government actually knows that NGOs are a big extension of their work within the communities, and I think if that relationship was properly harnessed, we would actually see a proper flow of these services to the communities with
I totally agree with you, Amanda, and I think this is also a wake-up call for government, because we have seen very beautiful programs being implemented by government structures, but when you go down to the communities, the results don't seem to add up. For instance, if we had like maybe the non-government organizations partnering with government to implement the PDM program, maybe to perform far better than how it is performing currently. But that trust seems not to be there, because probably maybe government, I don't know how they think about I don't work for government, so I don't know how they think about meaningfully collaborating with non-government organizations to help them implement some of their programs.
Yeah, maybe next time community conversations should make sure there is a government representation to answer to that. Okay, let's go to the private sector, philanthropy, and the diaspora. We know that the diaspora sends home a lot of money, but most of it is not directly going into local investments. Yeah, what would it actually take for that shift to happen?
I think again it's about the issue of accountability, because when the diaspora hears about what is happening in our spaces, one person, taking over 1 billion shillings and more, they become a little bit skeptical, and I think there is going to be a lot of trust building between the diaspora community and also the government here, to help them understand that their remittances are safe and also they are going to be accounted for properly.
Local and African philanthropy, is real. It has happened time immemorial. We are very philanthropic people, by the way. But still, it's concentrated in a handful of markets, the official African philanthropy. Is that a capacity problem, a trust problem, or something else?
Well, I think for me, I'll differ with you when you say that Africans are big philanthropies. We have very few of those, because if you look at, I again come back here, the richest people in this country, I'm not sure how much they contribute to community programs. They only look at programs that are going to actually earn them a lot of profit. So I think that I have reservations when it comes to the philanthropic behavior for the African community. We still have a gap. Even ourselves, when there is a social event in your community, you should ask yourself how often do you always come up when there is a social event or a need in your community. And that's when you can answer that question honestly.
If you know how our local communities have been like even in the past, there's always been that aspect of Ubuntu. You look out for each other. That's a form of philanthropy. Then also, if I'm to tell you the unofficial ways our people give, it's sometimes through agencies, emergencies. Someone is sick, there is an emergency, we need to raise funds, you see people come up so big. Then there is a certain event or cause, as long as it has excited people's hearts, you see people come up and give. But what we know has not been properly structured is a systemic way of doing it, the official way of doing it, that I will give my contribution to this community cause consistently or intentionally. No, sometimes it's through this excitements, or maybe you're fundraising for a child back in your family to make sure they proceed with school. There is that form of giving. So that type of giving, I think, has been existing amongst our people.
Yeah, you're right. Again, I think I agree with you when you say it's maybe not. Okay, so it might be in place, but I think what is lacking is that structural bit of it. Because like you said, people can be in position to provide or give, but then are they sure that what they are giving is going to be used for the right cause or for that particular cause they are actually contributing towards. People are beginning to lose trust in some of these philanthropic events. Yeah, so I think we need to maybe look at a better way of structuring this kind of philanthropy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Is the private sector in Uganda currently treated as a development partner, or is it mostly looked at as a taxpayer?
I think everyone will look at it differently. So for me, I look at it as a development partner because the private sector equally employs a big chunk of our people, and given that most of our youth are unemployed, so looking at the private sector as a development partner for me would be a better way of supporting their initiatives, but also maybe subsidizing taxes, because we have seen that there is a lot of segregation when it comes to tax exemptions, especially for these private companies. So if we can also have maybe a proper structure on how to equally distribute these tax holidays, I think to help the young private inventors or investors to come through and put up as much investment in this country. Yeah.
If we had to name a single actor most responsible for what is next now, considering the state of aid cuts, not because others don't matter, but because someone has to move fast, would you name who that actor is and why?
I think the government is the main actor in absorbing all these shocks because of the high responsibility that we have entrusted by electing the government and also contributing to the tax base. Yeah.